So today I will be talking to you through the way I edit my photos and get them to look the way they do. And the process is very easy, and all you have to do is remember the process. So to start, depending on how your contrast is, then you will need to change that. But I usually turn it down because usually my photos are quite bright and I don't want it to be like overwhelming. If the image is okay the way it is, then you can just leave it. It's mainly if the image looks too bright and then I go straight onto the highlights after the contrast, because that can bring some of the details out. But if it all depends on how your photo looks. So if you want some details in the sky, you can bring down the highlights a bit, just a bit though, because it can do other things to your image. And then I take them down a bit on my photos just to get more detail in the clouds, and this brings more detail into and shadows into the sky, and it gives the photo a bit more of a sharper look. Then I will go on and alter the clarity of the image, and this is to me depends on where I shot my photo. So if I shot it like where there was a lot of sun, I tend to just turn it down a really small amount, because if you turn it right down, it obviously like makes the image look like unrealistic, and you don't really want your images to look unrealistic when you're taking landscape photos. You also need to make sure your images are balanced. By this I mean don't over edit the images, and this will help like not take your eye off certain things, because you want to focus on the subject of the photo. But in landscapes it's quite hard to like get a good subject, but you should get a subject because it's where your eye takes you. Then we're going to go into the colour correction of the photo. In my photos I like to get a lot of photos where there's grass and stuff and water. Well, when there's grass in my photos I always tend to turn the greens down. The reason I do this is because I find the green very distracting in photos, and it can be overwhelming in some cases, because especially in landscape you're more like looking at the photo, not one certain part of the photo. You can also adjust the vibrance of the colours, and the vibrance is how much the colours stand out in a way. But you don't want to turn the vibrance right up, because it can really give an effect that you've over edited, and you really don't want that to happen. But in colour correcting you can change the hue, luminance and RGB, and the luminance is changing how the colours stand out. The saturation's like how much they pop out and like catch your eye. And then the RGB is just like, so you've got like blue and green. If you slide it like further up the scale, so where it says blue, it'll be like a blue, but like if you adjust it to where it's like blue and green at the top, it'll go like a darky bluey green, because you're mixing them two colours in. This can be really helpful if you're doing like water and stuff. And now we're going to go on to the tone curve, and for me this is a big thing, because when you're doing landscapes you always want to look at your tone curve, but to do this you will need to be on like Lightroom. When you're looking at your tone curve it has to be like a letter S, because otherwise your image will be either overexposed and not exposed very well, and you really need this in landscape photography because you want everything to be perfect. I also like to level my photos out on Lightroom if you haven't already done it, because it can make your photos look like they're level, because sometimes your horizon can be off a bit, and this is where a lot of landscape photographers like to focus on the leveling, because otherwise you can tell almost, if you've been used to it for a while, the leveling feature in Lightroom. All you have to do is click the button for auto, or you can do it yourself. But sometimes I click auto because it's just quicker and it does it more accurate. But sometimes I'll have to try it doing the manually. And when it comes to water photos, where I've got water in my images, I also really like to. I really like to add something like more. I don't want to overdo it in the blues, if you know what I mean, because everything in photography is like, it can be over poppy, like the colours, and if everything's dead bright in your colours, it's bound to have an effect on other people. And when I take my photos, I tend to get my phone out or something and check for like the framing of the image, because if you just get your phone out and just scout a bit when you're walking through places, then you'll have a good idea of what it is look like on the camera, because the camera is obviously more powerful than the phone, because it's a lot bigger and it's got like better chip and stuff. But that is how I edit my photos. But there is more stuff that you can do to make your images stand out. But everyone has an equal style on their photos. Like, there's different photographers that have different styles that are just totally different to others, and that's what you need to really master in photography, is like a unique style for people. But that's it, that's how I edit my photos.